There comes a moment in every seeker's journey when the external tools stop working, when no crystal, teacher, pilgrimage, or affirmation can take you further. It feels like a standstill, a silence. And in that silence, you may believe you are blocked by circumstances, karma, or lack of clarity. But I want you to ask yourself something terrifyingly honest. What if the actual trap is a thought repeating in your mind, masked as logic, something familiar, something beta? Beta patterns are not evil. They're neutral brain frequencies. But when they dominate without balance, they become the invisible enemy of transcendence. They keep you locked in linear thinking, worried about outcomes, obsessed with meaning instead of experience. Beta cycles feed the mind's need for control but kill the spirit's need for freedom. These patterns build invisible glass cages around your soul, where you can see the higher realms but not touch them. And most of humanity, not by choice but by conditioning, is trapped in 7 of these rarest and most cunning beta loops. You might be doing your shadow work, inner child healing, and meditating daily, yet still feeling disconnected. Why? Because you are standing in sacred waters wearing chains made of mental code. And all of those chains were installed in early life not by malice, but by survival responses handed down generationally. The first rare beta pattern we must confront is the belief that clarity must come before movement. This logic sounds wise, accurate, safe, but if obeyed unconsciously, this pattern becomes paralysis. Most of us inherited the idea that spiritual choices must be made from certainty. But the soul doesn't evolve chronologically, it evolves chaotically. It is non-linear poetry trying to speak in a system obsessed with order. Waiting for clarity is often just fear with good manners. How many times have you said, "I just don't know yet," when what you meant was, "I'm too afraid to leap without guarantee"? This beta loop is empty comfort. If we always wait for full understanding before acting, we rob divinity of its greatest entrance, unknown courage. You must begin practicing micro-spiritual bravery every day, sending the message your heart whispered before your ego filtered it, taking the walk even when sadness asks you to stay, signing up for that strange gathering your logic can't explain but your soul vibrates toward. That's how the loop cracks. By acting not after certainty but before it. The divine doesn't speak in guarantees. It speaks in sensings. And developing the spine to move from sensing, not certainty, is your passage out of this trap. The second rare beta pattern feels even more noble. It says, "I must fix everything before I can go higher." This is the subtle savior complex. You're deeply intuitive, so you see problems in others, in society, in systems. But don't mistake awareness for assignment. You may be confusing your gift of seeing with a duty to act. This beta loop wires your nervous system to stay reactive, constantly scanning for danger or dissonance as proof of unworthiness to ascend. It will sound like this: "How can I channel light while my partner is suffering?" Or "How can I do inner work when the world is bleeding?" These are deep questions, but also seductive traps. Because infinite things will always need healing. And if you believe you must solve all pain before pursuing your power, you'll be running toward a horizon that never stops running. This pattern tricks spiritually sensitive people into cycles of burnout, false martyrdom, and eventually, quiet resentment at the world for distracting them from themselves. To untangle this, you must cultivate sacred selfishness, not cruelty, devotion to alignment. Your healed state helps more than your suffering ever will. Can you let others have their lessons without sprinting in to offer comfort they haven't requested? Can you love the world enough to witness its pain without organizing your life around it? This beta loop collapses when you stop performing divinity for others and start embodying it for your field. Your alignment teaches more than your activism ever could. Then comes the third pattern, cloaked brilliantly in humility. "I'm not ready." This phrase has ruined more initiations than any external threat ever could. The world will never force your readiness, but your soul will whisper it constantly. And often you'll pretend you didn't hear. Why? Because if you admit you're ready, then action must follow. And action removes the safety blanket of potential. Many people stay stuck not because they're broken, but because they are afraid to disappoint the power they sense inside.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
You say you want to serve, to activate, to step into visibility. But do you want the consequences of your bigness? The visibility, the triggers, the responsibility, the shedding of comforts. The third beta pattern convinces you that more studying, more preparation, more shadow work is always required before you're valid. But what if your soul already has the key codes and all that's missing is permission? This is what I call the spiritual imposter loop. It doesn't speak loudly. It murmurs. Every time you wait to feel fully healed before stepping out, it wins. Break this trap by beginning publicly before you feel perfect privately. Share what you're learning, not what you've mastered. Embed activation into your process, not just your conclusions. Can you be honest, raw, and powerful at the same time? The modern guru is not the spotless sage, it's the embodied witness. Make a mess, but make it yours. Your evolution doesn't require more readiness. It demands realness in motion. The fourth beta pattern is perhaps the most invisible: emotional over-identification. This is where the mind merges fully with a feeling state and begins performing reality through its filter. This doesn't seem like a pattern, it seems like truth. But it's a distorted loyalty to emotional narratives that may not belong to you. You feel heavy, so your mind writes a story called Stuck. You feel anxious, so your system invents reasons to flee. This is not wisdom. This is emotion turned into architecture. And the longer you live within your emotions as definitions, the harder it becomes to access your soul beyond them. We're told it's healthy to feel everything, and it is. But nowhere were we taught how to release what isn't ours. Your ability to feel isn't only a blessing, it can be used against you if you're not conscious of your boundaries. Emotional beta loops occur when the nervous system becomes addicted to familiar saturation. If you've always known chaos, peace can feel threatening. If you've known heartbreak, love feels undeserved. These feelings must be honored but not obeyed as laws of your identity. Begin gently but firmly separating the narrative from the sensation. When deep emotion comes, say aloud, "I am feeling this, but I am not defined by it." Then ask a deeper question. Is this expression mine, or was it received through contact, through lineage, through field saturation? Sometimes feeling your feelings also means returning the ones never meant for you. The wisdom here is this: beta loops feed on repetitive internal narratives that feel safe but are ultimately soul-dimming. To exit, we don't deny emotion, we recontextualize it. We remember that emotion is weather, not definition. The soul watches the storm. It doesn't become the rain. And now, allow me to ask you, not as rhetoric, but as a frequency you must answer in the quiet of your heart. Who are you beyond your cycles? If every thought you believed about your limits was removed, what version of you would walk out of the fire? Do you dare to meet that version, not in dreams or visions, but in your next breath? There are still 3 rarest beta loops to uncover, patterns far more sinister, because they appear like spiritual truth but trap the seeker forever in performance, comparison, and attachment to impact. These patterns often appear at advanced stages and trick even experienced lightworkers. When we've walked a distance on the spiritual road, we often believe the major traps are behind us. But in truth, the most deceptive blocks don't come in the beginning, they arise in the middle path, where we know just enough to believe we are safe, but not enough to realize we just stepped into a more subtle prison. The 5th beta pattern is a master shapeshifter. It wears the robes of purpose. It speaks the language of service. But underneath, it binds you to the illusion of external impact. This is the beta pattern of performative purpose. You may not know you are trapped in it until exhaustion becomes your default state, or joy becomes conditional to likes, shares, or applause. Here's how it sounds internally. If I don't inspire anyone, am I even walking my path? Or what's the point of this awakening if nobody receives it? These sound like noble thoughts, but they are poison with dependency. You begin basing your sacred unraveling on whether others notice the shine. You shift from devotion into performance, measuring your alignment against how it lands for someone else. And unknowingly, you redirect your entire transformational current outward instead of inward, hoping to heal through feedback. This is not service. It is spiritual dependency. We must ask ourselves, now, is your devotion pure, even if unseen, even if unreceived, even if no one celebrates it? Because the origin of true mastery comes not from helping many, but from being nothing and yet still choosing love. The release from this loop will feel like loneliness at first. You'll no longer chase engagement. You'll no longer confuse impact with intimacy. Your work won't always ripple outward, but it will carve eternity into stillness. And that is more rare than applause could ever measure. The sixth beta loop is unnervingly subtle. It tells you to compare, not with ego, but with inspiration. This is the spiritualized comparison trap, and it hides inside the wisest of us under the phrase, "I just want to be as aligned as them." You begin seeing someone else's radiance and mistake it as a lack within yourself. You see their clarity and secretly feel less divine. You turn their acceleration into your inadequacy. This is not inspiration. It's internalized distortion. You feed it every time you use someone's presence to punish your own path. It's easy to see comparison when it's petty, but when it's soaked in admiration, it can feel like aspiration. Don't fall for it. If someone's path stirs you deeply, let it remind, not reduce. Let it activate, not bypass, because your light cannot be duplicated. You must understand, their soul came encoded with a different map, and your blueprint is not flawed, it's wild, sacred, irregular, necessary. So stop converting admiration into shame. Love them, lift them, but never contract because of them. To dissolve this sixth loop, begin practicing sacred solitude. This is not isolation, it's energetic sovereignty. It allows you to hear your original sound again. Because if you don't respect your own rhythm, every other song will feel like a threat. You're not behind. You're not late. You're not less. You are perfectly sequenced to explode on divine timing known only to your source code. Now to the seventh and perhaps most dangerous beta pattern, attachment to spiritual identity. This, above all, slows the soul subtly. You took the leap, awakened to your power, remembered ancient truths, perhaps even began serving others. And at some point, without realizing it, you became the idea of the awakened one. You built a persona around expansion. You curated a self that the world could recognize, even trust as spiritual. For a while, it kept you centered, until it didn't. Because one day, growth requires that you shed even that identity. Even the one that calls itself healer, priestess, light warrior, divine masculine, quantum mystic. Why? Because essence transcends all roles, including the spiritual ones. The more attached we become to being seen a certain way, the more we resist the type of transformation that disrupts how we are perceived. And unfortunately, true ascension will always disrupt perception. The beta trap here is the need to be seen as aligned more than the need to actually be aligned. Ask yourself, is there any part of you afraid to disappoint your spiritual image? Have you locked yourself into a performance loop because shedding it would confuse your followers, your community, or even your own self-concept? Don't let being the awakened one become your cage. The next level of transformation can't land on a costume. And your real liberation will come when you shed constructs even as the world claps for them. This loop is dismantled through surrender. Deep, awkward, skinless surrender. You might have to disappoint people's expectations of your path. You might have to become nothing again just to be reborn as something truer. No title, no name, no clear mission for a time. Just sacred disintegration that prepares you for something more honest than any role you've ever held. It's terrifying. But it's also the doorway to ultimate liberation when you no longer care how you are seen, only whether you are clean with the presence itself. Instead of asking, "Am I still relevant?" you begin asking, "Am I still real in the eyes of God?" That is the true rebellion. That is the exodus from the final beta trap. And from that place, something strange happens. Life stops being performance. Service becomes natural, not branded. Connection becomes sacred, not strategic. Joy returns to the root. The need for purpose is replaced by the embodiment of truth. You walk not to arrive, but to transmit stability as you go. So now we ask the terrifying and glorious question: if you never posted your process online, if no one celebrated your evolution, if your spiritual growth was completely hidden from the world, would you still do it? Would you still become it? If the answer is yes, not out of martyrdom but alignment, then the soul smiles, because you've just broken free of the final beta chain. There remains one more layer to all of this, not a trap, but a hidden realm beyond these loops. A place of freedom few ever reach, not because it's distant, but because we've never been shown how to live without identity. In the final part of this journey, we'll speak of how to stabilize your field after these loops collapse, how to live from soul impulse instead of mind narrative, and how to recognize when you've walked beyond linear transformation and into divine rhythm. Once we've recognized the 7 rarest beta patterns that block spiritual growth and begun dismantling them, a strange thing happens. The mind grows quiet but not comfortable. The soul grows louder but not clear. You've broken away from what is false, yet the path ahead doesn't immediately fill with illumination. Instead, you're suspended. You float between the fading mechanics of the old self and the silent architecture of the true one. And this liminal field is where most seekers get lost, not because they're weak, but because they mistake silence for absence. This final stage beyond beta is not a new set of rules. It is the absence of all rules. You've spent years transcending trauma, decoding belief systems, aligning with Dharma, and now you're asked to exist without rehearsal. No pattern, no persona, no prisms of expectation, just presence. Who are you when you are not motivated by fixing, saving, comparing, or performing? That answer cannot come from thought. It must emerge from impulse, the holy echo inside you that moves before your mind can justify. Here is the challenge most refined seekers silently face. After the collapse of beta identity, there's an urge to replace it with something equally structured, just with different spiritual language. The mind rebels against formlessness. This is when subtler loops try to grow roots, creating new systems, new labels, new disciplines to install purpose again. But the presence does not rebuild the same house with new paint. It burns the blueprint. And instead of defining you again, it waits for you to finally embody what can't be defined. At this point in the sacred unfolding, you must learn the forgotten language of your original soul rhythm. This rhythm does not speak in mantras or steps. It moves like waves. It speaks through the way you breathe when no task directs it, through the sensations you feel in the quiet, through the sudden whisper to rest instead of achieve, through the gentle knowing that you no longer need to be on path because you are the path. The real spiritual work isn't performance. It's presence without agenda. So how do we stabilize after vanishing the loops that once gave us identity, however trapped? The first practice is being silent without seeking download. In this hush, don't reach for clarity. Let yourself become emptiness that hums. This is not abandonment, it is eternal listening. Can you sit still, feel incomplete, and not rush to fill the void with yet another mission? This is where Source begins to reconstruct the soul, not as a concept, but as a field of grace in motion. Secondly, you need to retrain your nervous system to rest in peace that doesn't require accomplishments. Because beta patterns often hooked into your trauma responses, overgiving, overproving, overanalyzing, overreading the room. These are finesse forms of fight or flight. Peace too can be unfamiliar. So you'll need time to learn that not running doesn't mean you're lost. It means you've returned. You'll begin choosing stillness as your base frequency, not for discipline, but as your native song. And here's the great truth we often miss. Healing doesn't end in strength. It matures into simplicity, into laughing more often, saying less, needing almost nothing while appreciating nearly everything, losing taste for drama without condemning those still in it. This is what it means when elders once said, the master becomes like a child again. You reclaim the divine foolishness, the sacred pause, the joy that doesn't need approval because it already vibrates at God's pace. But as this unfolds, something else awakens your ability to create from source, not scarcity. You aren't just spiritually clear. You're cosmically fertile. Ideas begin forming from love, not pressure. Relationships reorient around coherence, not fear. Service arises from overflow, not duty. There are no deadlines when you're in divine time. Every conversation becomes a transmission. Every step becomes a blessing. Because you are no longer seeking signal. You are the signal. And so we arrive at the most bizarre realization on the spiritual path: we were never meant to grow into better versions of ourselves. We were meant to disappear into truth, to finally walk without needing to be anything, to stop measuring growth as evolution of self, but as the gentle erasure of all that blocked the soul's breath. When the beta structures fall, and you choose not to rebuild them, you start vibrating as pure permission. Not just for yourself, but for anyone who enters your resonance. That is the final key. You no longer teach truth. You become a space where truth can land in others without defense. And your light doesn't arrive with exclamations, it radiates quietly, without narrative. Instead of speaking the language of transcendence, you live a life so soft and real that others remember God is not far away, that God is the texture in their own skin, the echo of their own knowing, the silence in their own heartbeat. And suddenly your very being becomes a bridge to the infinite, not because you tried, but because you became simple enough to carry it. So let me ask you a final question, not to provoke, but to unlock. Are you ready to live a life that no longer needs to be understood? A life where validation fades and only alignment remains? Where you no longer seek growth because peace has arrived fully and you have let it in? If so, then your spiritual journey no longer moves upward or forward. It vibrates inward, and from that pulse, every single beta pattern that once governed your existence collapses into dust.